Hey there, Facebook. It is Vanessa here again, your speaker, trainer, and coach from Live, Love, Give. And today I am bringing a message to you all around, again, my favorite topic, relationships. And I wanted to reiterate this message that I'm saying time and time again, which is the fact that just because a relationship ends, or doesn't stand the test of time does not mean that it's a failure. And the reason why I really wanted to address this topic today with you guys is because it seems like, there's this weird pattern right now that so many of us are actually dealing with this very thing, where we are in relationships that we know aren't going in a healthy direction, and we've been there for a very long time, and feel like we've kind of exhausted and exerted ourselves and our options and ability to try and make things work. But what's keeping us there is we're getting ourselves into a state of confusion. And we are feeling guilty about taking the option that, if we're really honest with ourselves, is the right one. And why I wanted to dive into this, I really wanted to dive into a bunch of different things in this, and I want to give you some tips of navigating the challenges of ending relationships, just based on my own experience so far, and people that I work with, and absolutely the years that I have spent dedicating my studies to the topic of relationship and love. And so I really do feel like it's such an important topic, because how we are in our relationships determines really how we feel about the rest of our lives. So the real purpose behind today's message is to address all of you guys out there who are staying in relationships that aren't right for you. And if they're not right for you, they're certainly not right for the other person as well. And you are getting caught up in feeling guilty. There's obviously many more reasons and factors that come into play as to why we stay longer in relationships than necessary. But this is the particular type that I want to address today. It's that feeling of guilt, and feeling like how you're going to hurt somebody if you leave them. It doesn't have to be an intimate relationship. It can be a friendship. It can be a family relationship. It can be a business relationship, whatever it is. I'm talking generally here in terms of relationship. But what also keeps people stuck is because they feel like they're so overly concerned with the external world in terms of, will they be seen as a failure if they end this relationship? Or will they be seen as being too harsh by other people, including the person in relationship that they're potentially going to leave behind? And this is the thing that keeps them stuck. And what ends up happening when we overvalue the repercussions in our external world, we end up creating immense disharmony in our internal world. And nothing good comes from that place. Whenever we're in disharmony internally, whenever we're knowing what our truth is, knowing what's healthy for us, but actually not aligning with that, and we're just creating all our own torment and confusion within, we never make the right decisions from that place. If everything's either coming from love or it's coming from fear, when we're in emotional disharmony within, we're always coming from fear. So we can never make a really great decision in our external world. So my hope is that with what I want to share with you guys today, I really want to hope, my hope is that it will get you stopping overvaluing the judgments and opinions of the external world, whether you think they'll deem you as a failure for leaving the relationship, or too harsh, or you'll hurt somebody, and actually start to believe and trust in your internal wisdom that you always know what's the healthiest, best decision, even if it's the most challenging decision. You always have that answer within you, no doubt about it. But what happens is you start confusing yourself because you're so concerned with the voices in the external world over and above the internal world that you just can't bring yourself to make the decision that you know is healthiest for you. And if it's healthiest for you, it's definitely going to be healthiest for other people. And I am absolutely speaking from personal experience with everything that I share with you guys. And this is no different. And you know, the power of reflection is such a beautiful thing. You know, and we're always growing and evolving, but as I reflect back to my past self, I absolutely stayed in relationships for much, much longer than their expiration date. And it was always because I wasn't getting that, I wasn't trusting my own intuition, I wasn't trusting myself and my judgment, and I was overvaluing making other people happy and making sure that they were in emotional harmony and peace, even if it came at the expense of my own peace and harmony. And that never works out well. You know, all you end up doing is prolonging the inevitable, except making it much, much harder for yourself and everybody else involved. And so I don't think we can really get this message until we have maybe multiple experiences with the pain that we actually create by staying in something that has reached its expiration date well before the time when you actually make the decision. When you have enough of those experiences, you start to realize, I ain't ever going down that path again. I'm not willing to put myself under that. I'm not willing to put that onto another human being. It's too painful. And you can reflect back to the moments in time where if you had made that decision a little earlier, yes, okay, it's definitely going to be uncomfortable no matter what, because you're going to feel like you're letting somebody down. But at the end of the day, take a meta perspective of your life. Instead of being in that moment and trying to go for short-term comfort at the expense of your long-term fulfillment, opt for long-term fulfillment for a little bit of short-term discomfort. And you know, the sooner we can recognize that relationships don't have to stand the test of time to be extraordinary. You know, we can have people come into our lives that are meant to come in for a period of time, and doesn't mean they have to be there forever. You know, and when we try and make relationships that aren't meant to last, we can oftentimes lose our own self-esteem because that deeper part of us knows what's right and we're not actually following through, and we end up hurting other people even though our intent is to not hurt others. And so a couple of different things that I would absolutely love for you guys to think about if you are currently kind of trying to navigate the challenge of ending a relationship that you know is not right, you know is not healthy, but you're getting caught up in guilt and fear of other people's opinions and judgments on the circumstance, and you're feeling like you're going to be seen as a failure or too harsh. I want you to think about the following 4 things, right? So the first one is to balance out your perception. So when I talk about that, I'm really talking about, you know, not just getting all emotional and not just getting all logical, you know, those 2 extremes. In order to really get clarity and certainty about the direction forward, we have to get honest with ourselves and we have to get clarity first. So we have to ultimately, you know, realize that we have one of 2 options. You know, we can keep the peace externally, you know, however that goes, like trying to walk on eggshells around something you know is not right. But all that's going to do is continue to create that disharmony within. Or we can actually be willing to experience that external potential disharmony in the short term so that we can have that long-term fulfillment and trust within ourselves, learn the lessons and move towards something greater in our lives. But in order to, you know, make that latter decision, we have to balance out our perceptions. We have to, you know, start listening to what's true within, what's healthiest, even if it looks like the most challenging decision ever to make. You know, the longer you try and stay in the comfort zone, it gets more and more uncomfortable, and it gets harder and harder to trust yourself enough to back yourself to make the courageous decision of choosing the healthy option. That may be to leave the relationship. So we've got to balance out our perceptions, absolutely, and look at it from all angles and not just get caught up emotionally in our fears and all the voices in the external. We have to bring that within and start trusting ourselves and make the challenging decision. Believe me, it equals freedom when you start to align with the truth within and stop trying to like make everybody in your external world happy at the expense of that truth. Okay, so that's number 1 thing to kind of get your mind around when you're navigating this challenge of potentially leaving a relationship. And ask yourself, does it make sense to stick around in this relationship? Will this person ever change his or her behavior? Is it going to happen? Is this person really worth having in my life? We've got to look at relationship as the purpose of it being to enhance each other's lives. If we're not enhancing each other's lives and we've done the work to try and navigate that and it's just not going to work, be willing to make a decision to move on, and not look at it like a failure. Asking ourselves, will this person, continue to put me in challenging circumstances too much, moving in that hurtful direction, and, shattering self-belief as opposed to building it up. Or, will you be able to handle this person and how they are right here, right now, and how they've been operating, and stay in internal peace and not have to sacrifice your truth? These are some of the questions that you want to be addressing and getting clarity over when you're navigating this kind of challenge. Then secondly, you've always got to communicate what your boundaries and your needs are. Always. You can't expect people to be mind readers. You can't just know what your boundaries are, know what your needs are, and they're just not meeting them, but you never actually communicate about them, and you just expect them to know. And when they don't know, when they're not a mind reader, you say, okay, got to get rid of them. No, that's not what emotionally intelligent people do. Emotionally intelligent people understand that we're all living our own very subjective experience of the world, and nobody is in your mind and your heart. You have to express that. You have to have the courage to firstly get clarity over what your boundaries are, what your needs are, what an extraordinary quality of relationship would be. And then you have to have the courage to communicate all of that and give somebody the opportunity to meet you in that understanding. All right, so that's secondary. You always got to communicate your boundaries before you decide to end a relationship. Give people an opportunity. Absolutely. And also, then you've got to, don't expect people to change. Some people decide that they're going to end a relationship and they do it in this kind of way that they think, if I end the relationship, they're going to change, they're going to wake up, and they're going to finally be the person that I want them to be, and that is just not going to work out. Sometimes it will, I admit that. Sometimes people do need a bit of a wake-up call, to see that the way that they are operating is just not going to work out for them if they want to create great relationships. So absolutely, people can change, people can adjust, and sometimes being willing to end a relationship is the most powerful thing in terms of influencing transformation. But don't expect them to change and get all emotionally connected to that idea of them, changing and staying in contact and having that attachment going on. Because at the end of the day, most people resist change. Not all people, most people. And if you're expecting them to change and you're hanging on to that, it's only going to create more disharmony, more conflict, and more challenge in your relationships. And I would say that if you do decide to cut off a relationship, you have to cut it off in a clean way. So many people, are back and forth in terms of their relationship, and they lose trust in themselves and the other because they're up and down. Nobody knows what's what. They're hot and cold. It's just a big bunch of confusion. And instead, once we make a decision, once we've exhausted the avenues of giving somebody an opportunity to meet us with what we want, and we've got crystal clear clarity over what we actually want so that we can communicate that, and if boundaries keep getting stepped over and it's detrimental to our self-esteem and all sorts of those sort of things, once we make that decision, we have to make a clean cut. That is definitely my experience and the experience of people that I work with, the studies that I've done. It is absolutely true. Now, I realize that some relationships that need to end aren't going to be as easy to clean cut as others. There could be children involved. There could be a job that you're still at, whatever the circumstance, but you have to be the person who decides what is healthy. How do I navigate the connection that is necessary? If it absolutely has to be, we have to do the work to get intentional behind that as well. All right. And what else have I got here? And then the most important piece of the puzzle that I want you guys to get: do not feel bad about it. So many of us, don't make the decisions that are most healthy for ourselves and therefore healthy for people that we care about and whoever we're navigating relationship with. We don't make the decisions that are right and true for us because we're so in guilt, and we so worry about how that's going to hurt somebody and how they're going to feel about it that we actually don't make the decision that is healthier. So, I want you guys to think about the empathy and the compassion that you are worried about, for somebody else. You're thinking this could hurt them, this could be a challenge for them, blah, 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 whatever it is. I want you to have that same amount of empathy and compassion for yourself, and trust yourself. Always, always, always move in the direction of what is most healthy for yourself. It'll always be what's most healthy for anybody that you're in relationship with, because anytime you stay strong with guilt and you make your decisions based from a fear-based guilt place, then, you only create a long-term resentment in that relationship, which ends up the slow, painful death of the relationship in the long run anyway. All right. So I've hit you with so much today, but I really, really hope that it is of value to you guys. I really want you guys to just be navigating your relationships in a really healthy way that you choose, that comes from a place of freedom, not obligation, not guilt, not any of that. And whatever you decide, whether you stay in the relationship or you end the relationship, make sure that you have got the clarity over what you actually want, what that vision of extraordinary quality of relationship, no matter what type of relationship it is, what does that look like? Get clarity, and make sure that it aligns with what you value most, right? And then you have to have the courage to communicate what your needs are, what your boundaries are, what your vision is, and give people an opportunity to actually meet you there. And if over time you keep communicating, you keep giving the opportunities, you keep expressing and acknowledging when people are doing things that are in alignment with what's healthy for you, what's out of alignment, if people keep overstepping that boundary and they disrespect you over a period of time and you've given them opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, then you have to have the courage to decide what is more healthy for you. Are you going to continue down this path where you're in relationship with somebody who doesn't respect you? Or are you going to make a healthy decision for yourself without the fear of what other people think, whether you're going to be too harsh, whether you're going to feel guilty about it, whether you're going to hurt somebody? Have the same level of compassion and love for yourself and empathy for yourself to make the healthiest choice, and know that you do no person any favors by staying in a relationship out of guilt, obligation, sacrifice to your own truth. They're not even in relationship with the truth of who you are. They're in relationship with a shell of who you are, and that's just not fulfilling, obviously, to you or to them. All right? So give yourself and the other person the gift of the opportunity of a truly rich and fulfilling, extraordinary quality of relationship by knowing what is healthy for you, by being true to who you are, giving people opportunity to meet you where you're at. And if they keep overstepping the boundaries and they're detrimental to your self-esteem, if they no longer enhance your life, they're actually detrimental to it, know that you're doing the same in their life, and take responsibility for your life and actually make the courageous decision that you and only you can know that is right. So I'm definitely going to check in with you guys now. So I have been on a bit of a rant with this one, but I'm super passionate about it. I think it's one of the most important topics that we can ever address is relationships. And I hate more than anything seeing people stay in relationships that they know are not healthy and not right for them, out of the weirdest decisions, out of obligation, out of guilt, out of fear of failure, out of fear of the opinions of the external world, over and above the truth of who they are and everything that they have to experience and give. It's so heartbreaking to me to witness that, and that's why I have dedicated a huge part of my life to help people navigate the area of relationships, and really hope that this has been valuable for you. So let me check in with you guys. Say hi, share with us any of your experience, regarding this. If you're struggling, any questions that you might have, please ask them. That's what I'm here to help and assist with. And let me check in. So I've got Christian and Daniel and Alexandria, love it, and Stephen and Sam, much love to you, my friend, and Rob and my spirit sister, I love it, and Rosie's here, awesome, and Kamar and Kylie and Jay's here, and Kevin, Peace Jay, and Christian. See many openly mutual relationships. I'm not totally sure what you're bringing there, but clarify it for me. And I love that you've dropped a comment there. And Brandon's here, and Judy and Rob. End it, 90 days, go all out. You truly know after 90 days, do the right thing. Awesome. I can tell you're a Tony Robbins student there. Yes. So, and you would have seen also what I've seen many, many times, which is couples who are at the brink of breakup, ending up at particularly one of Tony Robbins' courses, Date with Destiny, where he talks in and amongst the 6 human needs that, if we meet for our partners or anybody that we're in relationship with, they're not going to want to leave us. But what causes, it's a great way of looking at the breakdown of relationship in terms of those 6 human needs. I've done a couple of videos on them if you're not familiar with what the 6 human needs are, and I will link them to this video afterwards so that you guys can get access to that as well if that's new to you. But yes, Tony Robbins would say, once you have that knowledge and understanding of the 6 human needs, identifying how you have a conversation with your partner about how they can meet and exceed your 6 human needs and you can for them, and dedicate 90 days at a minimum to just going all out, unconditionally giving in those areas of your partner's 6 human needs. And at the end of that, they've either come and met you on that journey and you guys are rocking it, or you've realized it's just not going to happen, and you can feel good about moving on beyond that because you've given your all without holding back, and you've set yourself up to win in your next relationship by having that ability to give unconditionally and meet somebody's needs, even if they're not meeting yours, if you do it for that period of time. So love that you brought that to the equation, Rob. Appreciate that. And Sam, love the opposite of creating relationships. I forgot what I said, but I love that you loved it. And yes, Christian, 90 days, I live by that rule. Love it. I love that you guys are totally into that. And add value in departure. I love that, Rob. That's great. And Emma's here, and Lugamba's here, and David and Sam. This is so timely. I'm in the middle of ending relationships, painful and grieving. Love hearing that this is meeting you at the right time, Sam, and absolutely, it is such a challenging area to navigate when we have to decide that it's just not working out, and instead of just going for fear, that just it was a bit painful, and I'm living in this fantasy that relationships are supposed to be 100% support and 0% challenge. That's never going to happen. And oftentimes people get caught up in that, and they decide, I've got to end this because there's a little bit of pain. That's coming from fear, obviously. But coming from love is getting clarity, and it's opening up the opportunity for people to make this a better connection. And then after time and addressing the issues, if it's just not going to work out, you have to have the courage to move on from a place of love, not fear. So absolutely, my heart is with you, my friend. And yes, it is a painful grieving process, because it's kind of like when somebody who's been close to you leaves your life or you leave theirs. It is exactly the same feeling and emotional response when somebody dies. You know, they have pretty much died from your life. You know, it's the same experience, and that you're going to go through a grieving process no matter what side of the equation you are on. The person, you know, cutting a relationship off, you know, from a place of love, it's not easy. You know, it's absolutely one of the most courageous things a human being can do, in my opinion. And you know, when we get to that place, it's also grieving no matter what side of the equation you are on. Love that. And Rob, appreciation over expectations. Another Tony Robbins. I love it. Trade your expectations for appreciation and your world changes in an instant. Love it. And I think I should be calling you Joel. Uganda, we are live. I'm in a hospital and kindly request for your help, dear friends. I'm sorry to hear that, Joel. And I love that you are tuning in from Uganda. Really cool. And Vinayak is here, and Ruxana, and Komain, and Gerardo, and Jared's here, and loving that you're loving it, Rob. And Rob, Vanessa, you rock. Your standards are outstanding. Oh, that's touching my heart. Thank you so much, Rob. And love them when I let go. Absolutely. Exactly. Come from a place of love always. If you're coming from any fear, resentment, all that sort of stuff, all that negative emotion, you've got some work to do within you. So get to that place and give yourself that gift. And Sam, you got divine powers. You knew the spot of my life. I'm anguishing and agonizing. Thank you for clearing this out. Oh, so much love to you, Sam. And it's so uncanny that so many of us struggle with the same things at the same time. It always blows my mind. Usually when I do these messages, I get a bunch of people like saying, was that about me? Was that about me? And I'm like, no, it wasn't about you. But other people are experiencing it at the same time. So can't wait to go deeper with you with that, Sam, and help in any way that I can. And I'm going to see you in 30 minutes. So awesome. And Jace is here. Awesome to see you. And Daryl, there is an excellent book named The Five Languages of Love, Receiving Gifts, Physical Touch, Quality Time, Words of Affirmation, Acts of Service with Gary Chapman. That's a good read. Absolutely. That is such a good book to bring to the equation, Daryl. So on top of Tony Robbins' The 6 Human Needs, which I won't forget, I'll try and remember to link you up to a couple of videos I've done on that so you can get an understanding. Also, yeah, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Awesome book, because we oftentimes give love in the way that we receive it, and we're often with somebody who receives love in a very different way. And to give you a quick example, you know, if my top love language is physical touch, and I'm in a relationship with somebody whose top love language is words of affirmation, and I'm always trying to cuddle them and be close to them, but I never say anything nice to them. And on the flip side, they're always saying nice things to me, but they never want to be close and give me any sort of physical touch. We're both going to feel really unloved, even though we both love each other. We're just giving each other love in the wrong love language. So absolutely, Daryl, thank you for sharing that with everybody. If you haven't read that book, I second Daryl's recommendation, and definitely get yourself that book if you want to create depth in your relationships and give in the way that people receive. So that's awesome. And Shelley's here, and awesome Rob and Sam. Close friends are saying I'm running away from desire and I'm reacting of fear. But I'm feeling inspired to move on despite pain and losing my creation. Yeah, absolutely. So Sam, you know, I see desire and fear, they're both very emotion-based, right? So instead of going just like emotion-based, which is, you know, fear-based, you know, you can have desire and fear is very emotional. Got to bring in some logic as well, you know, address some questions in today's video. I'll share them with you a bit later if that's what you want me to do. But you've got to bring in, actually, Sam, I know you're part of the 8-week group coaching program, and this week 6, training that I've taken you guys through, I would really encourage you to use the process to actually go through that. Now, I've actually got it here, actually. I'll show it to the rest of you guys. So here it is. If you guys can see it, might be back the front, actually. So here's a template that I've actually given everybody in my training. So you come up with the decision or the challenge here at the top. Yeah, it is backwards. Sorry about that. But you come up. So maybe it is leaving that particular relationship that you're really challenged with. Then you either go the emotion side or the logical side, whichever is like kind of more like in your mind if you're really emotional about it, and just brain dump like all the different emotions that are guiding this direction, this challenge. Get it out of the confusion. Then go to the logical side. Get out. What's the logic behind this decision? What logical things am I coming up with here? And then I've got a process that I've given my team who are a part of the program. There's a way of tapping into your congruent intuition through a meditative process. If you guys are interested in this sort of stuff and you're really serious about growing yourself and creating, a life that is truly of fulfillment, then I would encourage you to reach out to me if you want to be in next round of the 8-week program. But that's part of it. That's week 6 of an 8-week group coaching program. And Sam, I would love to hear you and see your work on this particular issue that you're struggling with for this week's empowerment assignment. So can't wait to hear that and see that. And Rob, think about how hard it is to change yourself and then think about changing someone else. Absolutely. You're never going to change anybody. You can always influence others, but the best way of influencing others is to be a leader. Make the changes within that you want to see externally, and see if that person can come and meet you on that path. But you've got to lead the way instead of expecting other people to change. Absolutely, Rob. Growth and contribution and love. I love that. Awesome. And Rob, you do remind me of love and connection. Oh, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. And Simona's here. Nice to have you. And Rob, if it's not part of your outcome, run. Absolutely. And Jetty's here, and Jeremy and Jared said so beautifully as always, my friend. Thank you, Jared. I always appreciate your feedback. And Brian, you are so welcome, my friend. Great to see you. And Robbie's here, and Khaled, and Janavi. And Robbie, thank you for your words of wisdom. You are so, so welcome. I'm grateful that you're finding value here, Robbie. And Dave's here, and Rashida, thank you, very important. Love hearing that. And Rob, thanks for adding value. Love to all. Much awesome. And stop tolerating what is less than you. Absolutely, Rob. I love all the wisdom that you've shared with us today. Awesome to have you join live. Hope to see you back again tomorrow. And Aaron's here, and Hassani. And namaste to you, Aaron. And good to see you live. And Justin's here, and Andrew. And Rob, love it, Vanessa, you got me. Dating is what I was talking about. Absolutely. Beautiful. And I love that. And Brian, I'm reading one of the books from your list, Sacred Contracts. Can you talk at a later stage of how to understand chakras and energy and how it can help us? Absolutely. I love that you're reading that book. It is a brilliant book. It's pretty in-depth. It's pretty kind of out there, but there's so much of a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom in that book by Caroline Myss. So I definitely recommend it to all of you guys who haven't read it. Sacred Contracts, Caroline Myss, M-Y-S-S. And yes, I will definitely. I always appreciate your suggestions there, Brian. Important topic, really interesting. And yes, and Tanya's here, and Jeremy. I completely agree that some relationships are not meant to last forever, and many lessons can be learned from the relationship, whether it continues or ends. It's just frustrating when the other does not communicate they want to end it. Well, and this is what this topic is all about. And I appreciate you sharing, Jeremy. Completely love that this is resonating. And so you can't be a mind reader of somebody else. You can't presume that they're going to end it or not going to end it. This is part of the confusion that we get ourselves into in our relationships. So instead of being totally fixated and focused on whether somebody else wants to end it or not end it, got to get clarity over what you really want. What is it that you want? Instead of allowing other people to determine the course of your relationships and life, we've got to take the buck back, and instead of just waiting for somebody else to decide what's to be to move forward, what do we want? You know, what is that clarity? What is that vision? What do we really want? What are we not saying? What do we need to clear up? All of that sort of stuff. So absolutely. And I love you contributing to the conversation today, Jeremy. Thank you so much. And loving it, Alexandria. And Timothy, nice to see you. And Ethan and Sam, always love your feedback. Absolutely. Love yours. And Humayun is here, and Shridhar. Awesome to see all of you guys here. I so appreciate you joining live and contributing to today's conversation. And I really hope that today's message has given you a bit more courage, a bit more clarity, and a little bit more compassion for yourself to, get more clear on what you really want. Anything that you're in relationship, anybody that you're in relationship with that's not enhancing your life, guaranteed you're not enhancing theirs either. All right. And so instead of staying in guilt and obligation and not wanting to create disharmony, actually get clear and have the courage to communicate what you want and move on if you need to. Stop thinking that relationships should last forever and that if they don't, it means they're a failure. There's so many lessons to be learnt, and so just get out of that mentality. Not everything is meant to stand the test of time, and that's not a bad thing. Have the courage to trust yourself and align with what is most healthy for you. It's always going to be what's most healthy for others as well. And last little comments here. Patty's just joined. Hope you catch the recording and get a ton of value from today's message, because I'm just about to sign off, Patty. And Jeremy, if someone does not want to communicate, how would you handle that? Would you move on? I would just decide what is most healthy for me. And I would make sure that I'm coming from a place of love, not fear. Not trying to, so many people get caught in this mentality of they feel like somebody's going to end a relationship. So they're like, I have to get in there first. So I feel like I've got the control. Anything that comes from fear is guaranteed to be the wrong decision. So I would, instead of focusing and fixating on what other people are doing or aren't doing or should be doing or shouldn't be doing, instead I would go, okay, what's the opportunity that I'm being presented with here? What is the lesson? And how can I get more clear and about what I actually want? What is my truth? What is healthiest for me? No matter what other people decide or do, what is my truth? And have the courage to align with that from a place of love, not fear. Hope that answers your question, and appreciate that, Jeremy. And Victor's here. Again, I hope you catch the recording for anybody who is just joining me, and get a ton of value from today's message. And as always, I'm sending you all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I hope it's beautiful, amazing, extraordinary, and you're doing something super empowering. And I hope that today's message has been of value to you. Sending you guys all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow. And last little thing, if you ever want to, if any of these messages are ever valuable to you, the greatest gift that you can ever give to me is sharing these messages so that I can reach more people. So that's just a little side note, but I'm sending you guys all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.